Gotta check the time.
What's going on, guys?
All right, guys, we are live with episode 78. Kesley Gallagher right now, and I'm excited. Sorry, I just kind of ran around.
It's okay.
You want to start that over, Daniel?
You want to start it over?
Hey, guys, we got Kesley Gallagher right now. I'm really excited for tonight's episode. I was trying to listen to all the places that you've gone, but I realized that it's going to be easier if you could possibly just list as fast as you can, or we'll just list off the places that you have been throughout your travels for our listeners real quick.
Geez. So by country, Canada, in Canada, the Yukon territory, so up in the near Alaska. So throughout the United States, from Florida to California to Maine to Arizona, down to Mexico to Mag Bay, and then to Cabo San Lucas, La Ventana for roosterfish, to Costa Rica for monster tarpon. We're going to be leaving for Argentina next week. We just got back from Guatemala over New Year's. I've been out to Hawaii to fish for bonefish, and then out to Israel to fish whatever was swimming there, out to Singapore to fish for peacock bass on a work trip. So yeah, kind of all over
the place. Fun fact, Daniel's I think your bucket list fish is a rooster fish, right?
Yes, I would love a rooster fish. They're elusive. I mean, I've seen them. I've had them come up after, mackerel that we've had hooked, like 100-pound rooster, just following it in.
Wow.
I've been in the surf swimming, and then you just see the rooster fins just cruising next to you. Of course, you don't have a rod on you. So it's like I've been integrated with all these rooster fish. I have yet to hook one, which is a shame, but it's on the list.
Yeah, the roosterfish, we first encountered them in Mag Bay. We weren't expecting to see as many roosterfish as we did, but luckily it was an outgoing tide, and we saw them on the sonar, and we're at the fish finder, and we're like, I wonder if they're going to come up, and this bait ball just magically appeared, and then the roosterfish came out of nowhere and just started crushing these. God, I can't even remember, but just crushing the bait, and we just tossed our flies right into it and got hammered. And then they were small, maybe up to 10 pounds. And then we went to La Ventana, and we were casting to roosters up to 70 pounds. I hooked into one, didn't land it on the fly rod, but then I got into like a 45 and a 50 pounder. And then we were also casting to them in the surf right off the lighthouse point. And that was really exciting because you could see the jacks just ripping through. And that jack was on the Instagram page.
Yeah.
With my face all covered up. But that was a huge jack, and he came out of nowhere, grabbed my fly. And then I decided, hey, these things are big enough. I could probably, set a women's fly fishing record on one of them. I cast at one of these jacks, and a roosterfish came up and grabbed it. It was funny. Madness. It was pure madness. And the best thing
the roosterfish was a bycatch from you trying to catch these jack.
Yeah, it just came out from under the boat, grabbed the fly, and then took off. And
that's so cool.
It was like 30 minutes of pure sweat, just trying to get this thing in and fighting the current, and it's going in the surf down the lighthouse point and to the point and going around it, and then finally catching this thing in the waves. It was really awesome.
Surf adds a whole nother element.
Yeah. I mean, we were in the boat. We weren't, standing in the surf.
Yeah.
But, but this June, I'm going to, be running up and down the beach trying to catch a roosterfish from the surf. That's my goal. So
now, where is that going to be kind of scheduled, and where are you headed for that trip?
So we'll find a Los Cabos and then go to a place, and I can never pronounce it right, Las Barillas, Barillas, I think. If I said it incorrectly, I apologize. But that's where we're going to meet my friend Jeff Fetzko, and then we're going to be fishing the surf for about 3 days, looking for roosterfish. And then whatever else, jacks, whatever else is in the surf. And then we're going to travel further north to La Ventana and then going offshore for roosterfish. And we're also going to look for striped marlin, dorado, and tuna, because my goal this year is to get a Grand Slam offshore. So
Nice.
I'm one of those crazy anglers that has goals, and I'll start strategizing, how can I get this and make it happen.
One of the things that I was actually going to bring up is it's cool to see how goal oriented you are, which then, kind of dictates where you want to go, how you want to fish. And the cool thing is you're not just like, all right, I'm going to head out there and hope for the best. You're like, no, I know what I need. I'm going with my flies. I'm going with my guides. I'm going where I need to go with who I need to go with, which is adds to the whole experience, but also just makes those trips a lot more fun to listen about, but also in your experience, probably to experience.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because plotting, strategizing, is it the right time of year? Do you have the right moon phase, especially offshore and inshore? And are the fish migrating through like the tarpon? And then also, what kind of flies do I need? And then asking people around, does this work with, it's amazing what you learn on social media. Because with the roosterfish off La Ventana, don't ever use any flash, because they know immediately it's a fly. So you have no flash whatsoever. And there's a specific type of tan chenille that we use. And then also white feathers to mimic the fish screaming along.
Screaming along.
Just screaming along, trying to get away from this roosterfish. But these are the small details that really matter, and you're not going to read about it. It's when you ask people, like, what are you using? How are you so successful? And my husband says it just lengthens the trip, because all of a sudden you're starting earlier and your brain is working and thinking.
Months ahead of time.
Yeah, months sometimes ahead of time.
So speaking of being goal oriented, in our local waters, have you got a trifecta yet?
What do you mean by trifecta?
Trifecta, calico, spotty, and sand bass.
I think I did one time. I did a lot of fly fishing with Fawn Podmore, and we would go out at night and then go fish for calicos. He was dead set on getting a record calico off the wall. And then we would go to some of those oil rigs and we would get the spotted bass. I don't know about the little spotted bay bass, but we definitely was getting into more different bass. I think at some point there was a Johnny bass, Luke, and I'm not sure what that was, but definitely that would be a trifecta.
Well, the trifecta would be the spotted bay bass, sand bass, and calico.
So spotted bay bass usually is like inner harbor fishing. Right. Usually, sometimes you
usually the crux of this. If you're a shore pounder, getting that calico is the crux of the situation. If you're a boat guy, getting in and getting that spotty's your tough part.
Yeah, no, I can't say that I got the spotted bay bass. I definitely got sand bass, calico bass, and Johnny bass, back in the day. I don't know, whatever happened to the Johnny bass? Or is it my memory?
It's just a rock. It's a rockfish. They call it Johnny bass. It's not.
How does it look?
Well, Luke? I could be completely wrong. I think sand bass and calicos aren't technically rockfish. They're grouper derivative.
Okay.
Where I think a Johnny bass is a rockfish.
Yes, Luke. I believe the Johnny bass is in that rockfish family.
Yeah.
I also want to say it might be called a chocolate bass, or that's just something adjacent.
Oh, I think I know. I think you caught one, Luke. Remember when you went out with your dad and your dad's friend?
Yeah.
I think that was a Johnny bass. It looks.
Yeah. We got that in the kelp at PV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'd catch him on the inner harbor all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the time.
Well, Long Beach is plentiful with species, which is very fun.
One of the things we say when we're searching for spotties is if you start catching those Johnny bass, it's like, oh, spotties aren't here.
Huh.
You don't see them catch them in the same place.
Well, it's like sculpin, right? If there's sculpin around, there's usually not bass around.
If there's a lot of sculpin around, there's not bass.
Hmm. They're bullies, I guess.
This is like the first time I've heard any of this, so
Really?
It's
this
because
is
me and
all
Charlie
new.
talk about
This is
cool
all
shit.
Me,
news
yeah,
to
me
me.
and Luke
Yeah.
talk about it all the time.
I
We're
will
like,
tell you,
Daniel's not here. Let's talk about sculpin and calicos.
there is a trifecta I did catch in Long Beach. Like that, it was the halibut. There's plenty of
Hmm.
halibut, the corbina, and a spotted bat or a spot fin,
Spot fin croaker.
spot fin
In the
croaker. Thank
surf.
you, and a yellowfin croaker. So it was like
Ooh.
essentially a grand slam that we call the super, yeah, a grand slam.
Yeah.
The
But
super grand
anyway,
slam.
super
Which is
grand
always
slam.
fun. But each, I don't know, not terrarium, but I
That's
guess
definitely not the word.
location
That's
has
for
its
lizards.
own form of, their own form of collection of fish, which is funny. Because
No, well, like
you can have your own Grand Slam or trifecta depending on the location that you're at.
Right.
yeah, like in freshwater, they have their own, right? They have largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, and there's
I guess
am I
you say
missing?
Striped bass,
And
striper,
striper. Yep.
or
Yeah.
wiper, white bass. You can get like a white
Yeah.
bass, spotted bass, large bass, and even a smallmouth bass in Lake Nacimiento. Because we tried that. We got the white bass and spotted bass, but we couldn't get anything else.
You could get the poor man's trifecta: a trout, a bass, and a catfish. I've done that a number of times.
The one that's tough is a spotted bay bass and a largemouth in the same day.
I almost did that. I fished Castaic. Sadly, nothing. I've fished Castaic
Oh,
before with great success. But it was such a poor day fishing freshwater that we stopped off in Marina Del Rey, and I was like, I just need to catch something.
something.
Luckily, I did catch a spotted bay bass, but it would have been cool to have that freshwater bass action over to some saltwater bass action. But that's not always how the dice roll.
Yeah, we have something similar called the freeway slam. So it's like you get a corbina, you have to get a calico, and then you also have to get a carp out of the LA River.
Oh,
So
Nice.
you done that one?
yeah. No, I haven't had the chance. I mean,
That sounds intense.
it's like it is a freeway slam because you gotta get the right tide spot
Yeah.
for the corbina, and you've got to go to the LA River, and then God help you finding a calico and a boat at the right time
Yeah.
in the tide. But yeah, it's like that. We were almost going to set up a tournament for that. Just wondering how crazy that would have been.
Well, I went and I got it. I got a bug. I was like, I'm doing a spotty and a largemouth in the same day, and I watched the tides. I really planned the trip out. I left my house at 3 a.m. I'm gonna get a spotty real quick, and then I can go fish the sunrise bite for a largemouth. And I could not catch a fish that morning. Finally,
Isn't always the
after
case.
sunrise, as I'm walking back to the car, I'm casting while I'm walking back to the car, and I catch a spotty. I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna go to the lake, walk around, and not catch a fish. So I go to Alondra, and the third cast I catch a largemouth, and it was like, wait a minute, it happened. So
Nice.
the spotty, which I should have no problem catching, took me almost 5 hours.
Wow.
And it took me three casts for the largemouth, which how many times have we skunked going for largemouth, Charlie?
Oh,
All the time.
all the times that I've gone.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
Elliot says, Los Barriles caught my striped marlin
Thank you.
at the lighthouse point.
Very nice. That's what we're going to be looking for. What time of year? Now I'm going to gather information.
Right? Give us the insight.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we get too deep into this,
Yeah, that's what I was.
mention this. I wanted to mention this at the beginning for everyone listening. I'd say 2, maybe even 3 years ago, our buddies Jeff and Happy started throwing together these kayak meetups, and there were Charlie, 5, 6 guys, and I remember Jeff kind of talking about like, yeah,
Like doing something big.
We do a couple of these, we might get like 10 people out. Well, Jeff just had 58 people show up to the last meetup, and I just want to say to everyone,
Damn.
Can you
that we're all really
imagine?
proud of him.
everybody
Him and
launching.
Happy and all the bastards.
58 guys with kayaks launching
Just
at the
a
same time.
full-on
Now, could you imagine all
Plastic
the fly
Navy.
fishing? Yeah. Plastic Navy.
Yeah, the plastic fleet
Plastic
was out,
Mafia.
and it's really cool because we've been watching Jeff and Happy since they were just a couple kayaks doing it.
Now they're doing big things.
So it's
I hear
really
you're
cool to watch
sponsoring
it
the next
grow.
one, Daniel.
Well, I was at Liberty, so I was just gonna go, yeah. Marina Del Rey next month, April. I don't actually know the date.
12.
I do apologize about
April
that. April
12th.
12th. I do apparently now know the date. I will be sponsoring that one. Fish RX. Come on
58
out.
kayaks in Marina Del Rey. There's not that many spotties in that harbor.
No,
It
Start fishing
is
for
going to
seals.
be hilarious to see. I'd venture out for all the ones that do have the motors. I don't know. Go to Ship Pipe. Go to.
Is in Long
Reefs or
Beach.
Long Beach has room.
The next
No,
one's in Long
April.
Beach.
April's in Marina Del Rey. That's why I'm
April.
sponsoring it.
April. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, Daniel.
I think it. We'll
Me and
see.
Charlie
Maybe.
We'll
will
see.
believe you.
Yeah, you guys can
I
have
don't
a
know.
conversation. And
You
then
might be
loop me
right.
in later.
You might be right. But you also want to bring up too, before we get into this, we have glizzies at the ramp. Finally, we found a date,
What's the date,
and it's
Charlie?
gonna be May 24th, 2025. If you're around,
that doesn't work for me, Charlie.
why?
It has to. Sorry, Luke. We
What do you
already talked
mean?
about you.
We've
What do you mean
changed
it
this
doesn't
like
work?
What do you mean it doesn't work?
No, it's gonna work great.
So Kesley, if you're around, if you guys are around, we would love for you guys to join.
Okay.
We usually just hang out at the ramp and eat hot dogs after fishing. These guys don't fish.
What did your wife call it, Charlie? Your wiener event?
Wiener event.
That we get people. We've had people all the way from San Diego to Sacramento showing up at this thing. It's really fun community time.
Wow.
It's
Yeah, we
a free community event where, I just wanted to get the people together, and I said, come on down to the harbor and I'll make hot dogs. What's something that I can make for everybody
that's not how it started.
It
That's
did.
not the real.
That's not the real story.
It's not the real story. Tell the real story, Charlie.
But it's a really good event. It's a really cool event. A lot of people come down and hang out. We've never made a competition out of it, right? Like it's never been like, oh, let's do a, it's always been like people that show up are actually there to hang out, right? There's no purpose why they're there. They're there to hang out.
Just to hang.
Let's describe it a little more. Everyone shows up at 6 who's gonna fish. So me and Daniel will show up. Charlie usually hops on a boat and shows someone new around the harbor. Like if someone comes up and hasn't really fished, Charlie might hop on their boat and show them some spots. But me and Daniel will come and like Daniel passes out baits. We'll say what's up to everybody, and then me and Daniel go back to our houses and we grab barbecues.
They go to sleep.
Take a nap.
Well, we grab the Traeger smoker, we grab chairs, we grab the food, and then we come back and start setting up. So at noon, when everyone comes off the water, we got hot dogs going, we got drinks going, we got the pop-up set up. And what
So May 24th.
Is year 4, Charlie?
This is the 4th one. Right, Daniel?
Honestly, I don't even know what day it is. So I am going to be
well, I'm going to say this is the 4th one, and we're very like appreciative of the community, how they supported us through this, It's really cool to see.
So if you're seasoned, come on down. If you're new, come on down. There's guys who are shore pounding. If you're
Kayaks.
In a float tube, a kayak, a paddleboard.
Float tubes.
And this is one of the things that we can't stress enough, because some people will go, well, I can't be there that early. I got to work. Show up after. Show up and just eat a hot dog. You don't need to be part of the fishing. Some of the guys can't go fishing that day, and just show up at noon, grab a hot dog, and hang out. It's not like you have to fish to qualify for the food.
Yeah. So stay tuned. May 24th is the date. Set in stone. It's not changing, right, guys?
It's not changing.
I'm writing it down.
Not again. Not again.
But it would be
6.
Yeah, would it be cool if you guys come down, Even if you guys just want to come hang out after,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Let's do
bring
it.
your own chairs. Everybody, bring your own chairs. We don't provide
Okay.
chairs.
No chairs
BYOC.
provided.
Bring,
BYOC.
we bring the
Yeah.
food. It's bring your own beer and bring your own chairs.
Okay, we have a question. So that's out of the right. We're good with everything. Do you have
Yeah, I think
anything coming up that you
that's all the
wanna
community events.
talk about?
Me?
Yeah.
No, 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 I don't. I tried. I don't have any events coming up. There is something going down at the Long Beach Center. I think it's an award ceremony for the Coastal Commission. Um, and that's really the only event that I have coming up, but I think that's private. I'm going to be representing the IGFA, but that's
Awesome.
about it.
It's
Yeah.
private, so when the three of us show up, we'll be crashing.
No, I'll just say, oh, these are my friends. Come on in.
Yeah. Sure.
So
I'm sure they'll let us in.
They won't let us in because we don't own button-up shirts.
They
Oh,
won't let you
okay.
in.
Well, I can
I
get
own them.
some.
I own two.
I could. She's like, I could get you guys some.
I guess.
So I guess we'll start with this question, and then we'll go from there. So what's your choice of gear when fly fishing big game?
Okay. So again, it's species dependent. So when I go fly fishing for, say, tarpon, what I like to have is like an 11 or 12 weight rod, and also like a large Tibor, Tibor Riptide or bigger. It's like a Tibor Everglades. Or sorry, no, going the wrong direction. But
What's a Tibor?
A Tibor is a reel that has a cork drag. So when you fly fish, there are no gears. So it's just it's 1-to-1. But for Tibor, they're something, a reel that I depend on. You can just trash them and they're still going to work. I've traveled with my Tibors like around the world and they've never failed me.
And
I've
that's the brand?
Yes, Tibor.
Okay.
And if I had known this question was coming, I would have held one up for you to see.
It's
I was
fine.
just making
It's
sure the
fine.
Tibor wasn't a cork drag style that existed across many brands.
No, for some reason Tibor has kept, in their classic reels, the cork drag. The other drag system I like is the seal drags, and that's in an Able reel. Able's also from the California coast. They're I think they used to be from Camarillo, California, and then they moved to Colorado. But most of the gear that you see today in fly fishing was developed here in California.
Oh,
So it's a
really?
12-weight rod. Yeah, a lot of
I
it. And
I
I
always assumed
know
it came out of Florida.
you would think that way, but I'm not as gifted in the history of fly fishing as my husband will be in the next episode, and
I know, huh?
he'll give you the rundown. But when you're talking anything greater, I learned my lesson when fighting a blue marlin for the first time on a fly rod. The
Can't even
reel,
imagine that.
the reel that you want is a Mako, and this is a very expensive reel. But it was, and I am terrible with names. My husband's going to shoot me that I can't remember.
Now,
It's a
real quick,
Jack
is
Charlton.
Mako the
Wait.
brand or is it a real four Makos?
It's Mako the brand.
Okay.
And it was designed by Jack Charlton. They're made out of Bainbridge Island, up near Seattle. And they're some of the most durable and strongest reels that you have. And unlike the Tibor, and I learned this, when you have a fish that's, say, running, and for example, we were set up for sailfish, so our drags are on pretty tight. But when a sailfish hits, they run and then they wear themselves out, and then you can reel them in, you can fight them in. But with a marlin, they're so strong, and you have such light tippet. We're using 20-pound tippet on these fish. You have to lighten the drag immediately. And with a Tibor, because it's cork, you can't do that as fast or as dependably. And I lost a marlin to that. So I fished with a Mako reel. You can back off on the drag and have confidence it's not gonna grab, and it's not gonna increase the drag. And I wish I was more technical, but at the same time, I know that when I have a much larger fish on, I would use a Mako reel.
Mm-hmm.
So
So how does that?
No.
What were you gonna say,
I was just
Daniel?
saying that that's what you need to know because you were apologizing for not being more technical, but it's like you don't have to be
You would have,
Yeah, I don't want to say extremely well
Kessie, you would have
versed.
got me. I would.
Uh,
I was like, yeah, you're right.
I
Thank you.
guess it's, you don't need
I
to
just
know
hear my
everything to
husband
be able to catch
upstairs
fish.
going, "Oh my God, she's getting it all wrong."
Yeah. But that's part of the thing, and we were kind of talking about this at PCS show because we had someone come and kind of troll us about like rods and this and this and that, and I said, it's not about spreadsheets. Like it doesn't matter what your research said. Part of it's feel, and part of it's just knowing how to work your gear. And you can have all the spreadsheets and all the information and all the science, and if your rod doesn't feel right, I don't want to fish it.
Yeah, and not only that, but there's a certain manufacturer, and I took this reel down to Costa Rica and then also to Belize to fight large tarpon. I mean, we're talking over 100 pounds for 2 straight weeks. And by the time I got back, it was catching.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't smooth, and the salt water got into the drag, and they had to replace it. And I thought, for all the money I just spent on these reels and this trip, that's crazy. And I would never. I just said I got rid of all of them, and to me it was just, again, you're going by feel. You also go for dependability. If you're really going to work your gear on large fish, you better have confidence that it's going to last. And I know guides in the Keys, they're like, I won't touch that make of reel because it's going to fail me and it's going to fail my clients. So you really need to have confidence in your gear,
Especially in someone in your position where you're traveling so much. You want gear that can also
I was
somewhat of a
I agree with that.
travel. There's only so many precautions that you can take for safe travel.
Right.
I have a reputation for breaking gear. And I can't say I've had a whole lot of experience with drag slipping, especially on a newer reel. I've had it on some older reels where it should be slipping or catching. So like you said, there's really no excuse for that.
Oh, no. And
there's absolutely none.
Especially since most of the designers and manufacturers of these reels that I was saying, they're coming off of the aerospace and defense industry. So you have some of the top engineers who went into fly fishing into these reels. So that the engineering and design should be behind it. And it's something that would, for aerospace, for braking systems, et cetera, on an airplane, you don't want that to fail. And then you transition to a fly reel. There shouldn't be any excuse for the drag to fail you or even catch.
Yeah.
So
it's
maybe
like
my standards are too high.
Catching in a way is almost worse than it failing.
I wouldn't call it high standards. I would call it, I guess, normal standards.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, it's catching on, this fish. It shouldn't be catching, and you're gonna snap my tippet when it shouldn't have. So.
Especially when you're looking, you're chasing, and you're seeking those trophy fish that are going to break that record. It's like I have to have everything within a 95%, accuracy and workability rate.
Yeah, it can't fail. And you're gonna be like, getting the roosterfish off the beach, you got to think of sand. How is the sand going to get into the drag? What can I do to prevent that? And just thinking ahead, is the reel going to be dependable? I had another reel that I caught Corvina on. It was a size 5-6 weight, so it's a small reel, but it needed to be dependable. And after time, the saltwater got into the drag, and I don't have confidence in it anymore. So that's the scary part. And I know, people are like, oh, you should take care of your gear. But at the same time, I'm paying a lot of money. The gear should be taking care of me.
Yeah,
and
I
also,
agree.
It's not like with us on conventional, we could walk into almost any tackle shop or just call up Reel Tweaks and drop off our gear, and it's fixed.
Okay.
With fly gear, you can't just send it to Tom down the street. You got to send it back to the company.
That's right. And then they're like, at one point I said, your reel's failing. What's going on? And they're like, oh, it's a part from a manufacturer, from an OEM manufacturer. Third party, and we have no control of it. I said, I think you should have some pull here. Really?
Yeah.
I would be so
So
upset, man, if I send my reel and it's like, oh, sorry, this part doesn't belong to us. I can't fix it. Okay.
They sent me a bunch of the parts that were failing and said, well, if you feel that again, this is how you replace it. I'm like,
well,
okay.
let me send you a walkthrough video how to do it. So
Hold on while I fix my reel.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
speaking of reels failing and gear, like I've traveled not nearly as much as you, but I've experienced gear failures, or like I've showed up and one of my reels is broken from the travel. How much extra are you bringing? Like, so you've got, your setups. How many like backup setups are coming along?
Well, it's again, you have to think of the area where you're going. For example, Baja, Mexico, we're only allowed 4 setups. Otherwise, you get a tax levied against you.
Really?
And
Really?
Now, is this on
yeah,
the airplane?
this is actually through Mexican customs.
So
And
more than
so
4 setups crossing the border as well?
I don't know about crossing the border, but I know when we fly into Laredo, they check. They're like, how, because they're like 4 rods and 4 reels. That's it.
Oh, really?
And it gets me nervous because things break.
Yeah.
I want backup for my main rods and my main reels.
Yeah, like when
But
I go to Florida, I bring 6 rods and 6 reels.
right.
And that's
Yeah,
not
you want
nearly as gnarly as Mexico.
yeah. I mean, when I was going to like Costa Rica, I was backing up every rod, which is a good thing because I was there for two straight weeks and I broke 2 rods on big fish. And luckily I had a backup. Yeah.
I can't. Okay. Well, what goes through your mind? Because I don't think the rod's breaking on hook
Okay.
set. Like where do you think in the progression of getting the fish in does your rod break, and then what goes through your mind like at that point?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. So this is like what they call a Helios 2 rod, and it was made by Orvis, and it had the reputation of shattering. And I thought, that's on the angler.
Yeah.
And so I hooked into a 100-pound tarpon. I fought it for a half an hour. I got it to the boat. The fish gave me, I had tightened the drag throughout the fight to land it. And the fish, we were eye to eye from the boat. I was looking at that fish. It gave me the fin and dove under the boat,
Oh,
full throttle, and bam, there went my rod in 2 places, right at the cork.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah,
oh
so
wow! At the handle.
at the handle, and I have a photo of it. But I just had I was a rookie error. I had the tight drag, and the fish took. It was playing possum, and it got me.
Did you see the
So
fish?
Yeah, it was
yeah,
at the boat.
yeah, it was at the boat. It
It
gave
looked
me
her in the
Nice.
eye.
bam.
Yeah,
But
halibut are notorious for doing that.
Like going under boats?
Well,
Oh,
just
like
once you
getting
get
right
them
up
up
there
the
and then running
Oh,
again.
surface,
yeah.
they get this weird second wind because they
yeah,
almost, as their name depicts, they kind of have this weight of a doormat coming up, and then they're like, "Oh, I didn't mean to get this high or something." This water column, and then they shoot back down.
It is true. It's like, I think on the way up, they're like, they've been fighting for a while, then they go up, and it's like, all right, I got my second win. Let's go again. Boom, boom, boom. And it's
yeah.
gnarly at times.
The thing with tarpon breathe air. So when you're fighting a large tarpon, they'll come up and they roll and they'll gulp air, and then when they do that, you've got another 10 minutes of fight, especially with a big fish.
Mhm.
And so that's another thing. He was at the boat. I don't know if he gulped some air, but man, he got some more energy and went right under the boat. But yeah, they're great fish though. It's a wonderful fish.
Oh, they are, majestic. I don't think describes them well enough. But I mean, they're so much fun to just watch in all aspects, whether or not they're just cruising, swimming, or they're tail walking on the end of a line, and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, let's go.
You,
No,
you
no,
can think you know exactly what to expect with a tarpon, And when you actually get in that situation where there's one tail walking and it's as tall as you are, it's like any thought and expectations out the window. You're just like, it's hard to even continue to fight it because you're just like, your brain's breaking.
I I don't know. When they did that to me, and this happened off a bar in Belize, we saw a bunch of rolling tarpon on a bait ball, and my guide's like, "We're gonna cast that. We're gonna catch one." He said, "There's a big one down there," and I hooked it, and the damn thing went straight up, like you said, Luke, and it jumped like this, and then the people at the bar started gasping, and then it dove under the boat and tail walked down, and all I could think of was like, "You're mine. I'm gonna bring you down."
But that
You
wasn't your
don't do
first
this
time
to
seeing
me.
a tarpon either.
Huh?
But
No,
that wasn't your
no,
first time seeing a tarpon.
no, but I guess the first time I saw like a large one in Key West, I still had the same attitude. I don't know. I wasn't in awe. I was just more like, "You're mine."
Oh yeah, I blanked. But then the tarpon ended up breaking off, and me and my buddy sat down, and the guide
He
goes, "There's
said
another line in the water," and
he
I was
said
like,
the
"Shut up
tarpon
for a minute."
danced
Just
and then spit the hook.
he spit the hooks back at us so hard that it cracked the gel coat on the boat.
he
It
was
hit the center console and cracked the gel coat.
he was
But
like,
yeah,
not today.
me and my buddy just sat
Today.
down, and the captain goes, "Get a line out," and I'm like, "Dude, give us a minute, like, calm down."
I need to catch my breath.
Yeah.
I,
He's like, I've never seen a
this is
dancing tarpon in my
unbelievable.
life. But I could only imagine it must be like a sick feeling, man, to see something huge come out of the water and you know it's on your line and then gone.
No, I think I had that feeling with marlin, with the blue marlin that we had in Guatemala this December, because they were just enormous. Scott, my husband, he hooked into a 350-pound. What do you think?
Oh,
Thought was a 350-pound on a fly rod, and this thing just went ballistic. And it was coming at the boat, and I swore to God it was going to come in the boat at us. So we all hid.
Which
We
they're
all hid in the
notorious of.
salon. Huh?
I mean,
I've seen videos of people
sailfish
getting,
are
yeah.
notorious to jump in the boat and thrash. So that's a rational fear in my mind.
Yes. Especially when this thing was coming at us. And
Yeah.
my husband was in the stern fighting it. He was all by himself because we were all inside.
Yeah.
I would absolutely be hiding.
Yes. Oh yeah.
There's-
So
No.
Elliot replied with so I think he goes to Los Barriles in August.
Hot.
That's what in August is when he goes for his dad's birthday, if I'm not wrong.
So
we
So
also,
there was
yeah,
another question there where they were asking about what type of rods you prefer.
yes, we did get a question asking what rod, which I'm assuming is more, specific to what you're fishing, but if you would like to share.
Yeah. I'm I guess a pro staff for Sage rods, so I prefer Sage. I prefer the new R8 salt. So that's something. It's a heavier rod. It's a fast casting rod, meaning that you can get a really small tip or a small arc, and you can really punch it through the wind. And not only that, it's easier casting, but at the same time, it has a lot of backbone, so you can really fight a large fish easily. And it's not as much of a endurance endurance race that some rods can put you through. Some rods are
Yeah.
noodles, they cast beautifully, but God, when you get a big fish on it, it's going to wimp out. But these rods, they've engineered them correct, and so it has a nice backbone to it, and so you can depend on it. Again, it goes back to confidence, what you can depend on, and what you know is not going to let you down.
We have another comment, asking for a beginner or if you're getting into fly fishing, what kind of gear would you recommend? But I wanted to ask the person who commented that, can you be more specific? Because again, you're going
Yeah.
to get
What
a
type of fly
rod and
fishing?
gear for something that you're specifically targeting.
I can answer that, even at that, without saying the fish. I
Okay,
would definitely
even
start
better.
out. I would
Is that
start out.
because you're going to tell them just don't do it? You don't want to go down this rabbit hole?
No, it is. You're going to the dark side, so be prepared.
Oh.
Luke can tell you.
Yeah,
But you,
like with regular like gear fishing, there's so many different aspects, and
Mhm.
there's so many more with fly fishing. It's like just triple the different gear you need. Just
I mean,
triple it.
I'm going to be honest with you. That's the only hurdle that I don't want to like, take on. That's the only reason I haven't started fly fishing. I love it. I had a practice rod growing up. I think it's a lot of fun, but I don't have the space or the money for another set of gear.
What a weak excuse, Daniel. What a weak excuse. I made a funny joke and you took it too far.
Nope. I'm serious.
so let me
Anywho,
answer the
all right,
question.
let's go with the question.
All right. So I would start out with the Redington. They're their price point is much better, and start with a 9-foot 5-weight, and start out with a 9-foot 5-weight rod and 5-weight reel with a 5-weight floating line, and you can target like panfish, you can target trout. So it's a nice all-round rod. And you can also, if you're really adventurous, you can target with a sinking line. You can target surf perch off of the California coast, but that's where I would start. And you can go up to the Owens River Valley outside of Bishop and cast on the Owens River. That's a great place to start learning how to do trout fishing on a fly.
That's where I caught my first.
I
That's
just
where I caught my
read
first trout fly fishing.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
it's a
met
beautiful
gentleman
place.
today who like all he does is fly fish. I met him at work, and he was talking about all the gear he has and this and that, and he said, I have this Redington that I started out with, and I still pull it out a couple times a year because it is just such a fun rod and works really good.
Yeah, no, and they have a great warranty, great service. I mean, if you order online, you're going to get your gear in a week. So to me,
Nice.
Redington is a place to start.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Try it.
I tried it once. We were on the. I think from the boat is a little different, right? It takes a little bit more skill.
And we're doing like.
Well, we lost you. Can't hear you.
I got a good question. So
Yeah.
If you want
Hold
to
on.
find the
What?
hardest way to start fly fishing, come fish. I said, if you want to find the hardest way to start fly fishing, come fish Calico with me.
Oh my God, yes. even I start tearing out my hair because it's a dark and it's a pitch black and you're trying to figure out where your fly is going.
And that's
But it's
even
fun.
with conventional gear, right? Like
Yeah.
there's points in the wall where it's really dark, right? You'll get those spots in the wall where light seeps through and you can kind of see your line, but then there's spots where it's like complete when there's no moon. Good
Right.
luck,
Good luck. Yeah,
Good
I know.
luck. So I can
Now,
only imagine how like the fly is.
I know you and your husband went with Luke. Were all three of you fly fishing, or just you and your
No,
husband?
I just guide on fly trips.
Okay, sounds
you
like
can't
that's a
have.
lot of
He
flies.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm like. I don't think there could be.
each way.
I don't think there could be three fly rods whipping at the same time.
Not
Can you
without it being
imagine?
dangerous.
Luke will be having hooks in his face.
I get hooks in on the back of my head regardless.
But
It flows. It's on brand with Luke.
but I didn't try it at night. I tried it during the day, and it was pretty hard. I was like, just give me my conventional gear back.
I hear you.
But it seems fun though. Like I could only imagine how it would feel to catch even just a cookie cutter calico on a fly rod. It would be fun to fight,
A
Yeah,
cookie cutter calico feels like a big calico.
right.
right?
And yeah, we call the calicos on the wall thugs because they're so much stronger. They just
Super
tear into that
thugs.
wall. They're thugs.
If you ever see a big calico off the wall, they look like jailhouse calicos. Like they got scars. They're dark. And then you go to PV in in the kelp, and they're all nice and bright and beautiful.
In Catalina, they're like, whatever. But
Yeah,
no.
that is funny. Daniel, what were you gonna ask?
So, I know you've headed, a bunch of different places. I know you were born in Australia, so I want to know if you had any pull back to Australia, or if you had any, I guess, bucket list fish are out there. And then, secondary, kind of on top of that question, is there somewhere that you haven't been that you're looking to kind of travel to?
So, yeah, I was born in Perth, Australia, on the western coast, and I left when I was a year old, but I've always been wanting to go back and see where I'm from. In the west coast of Australia, you can get black marlin, the baby black marlin, on the flats. And so,
That sounds like a lot of fun on the
so you can
flats.
sight cast to marlin of all things. And that's something that I've always wanted to do. And then they also have queenfish, and they also have the Indian Ocean permit, which I've always wanted. Permit will give you the fin all the time. They're a bane of my existence, and just something I always, I just chase because it's addictive because they're hard. But yeah, that's something that I've always wanted to do. Then
I mean,
also,
chasing something because it's hard is almost, part of the whole allure to fishing.
yeah, no, and I remember I took a friend of mine fishing on the LA River for carp for the first time, and you sight fish for those things. And he's like, Kesley, why aren't you doing this? I said, because this is easy. And then the glare hit the water, you couldn't see, and then I woke up, and I'm like, because it's difficult. I want to go fish.
So, is there a
But yeah.
particular? Is there a part? I mean, I don't know how LA River spots are, right? I don't want to burn any LA River spots for people out there fishing the LA River. But is there a particular place? Because I know off of
The
where
freeway?
You
no,
gonna name a spot after you say you don't want to burn spots?
Atwater.
Is that what you're about to do?
no, I was not. Wait, kind of, but it's no
We
secret. There's videos of it.
Yeah,
It's off of Los Feliz. Is it in that little like? Have you been to that little like oasis?
in Long Beach off of Willow.
No, it's going towards like like up north.
No, because we used to fish Atwater or Red Car Park. So we would park
Oh,
there and then go down into the river.
Yeah, I've seen
Because
that by Atwater where it's all where they've kind of tore out the bottom.
yeah, it's actually, it was never paved over because it has a natural spring. So they couldn't
Okay.
put concrete there. So it's the natural river bottom. And we used to catch carp there all the time. But then the floods came, and I think they also tried to clean up the bottom. And so the large carp just disappeared. I haven't been back since, but that's where we would always go with a fly rod.
well, off the 5 freeway, there's a really like nice like I don't I I don't know if they made it or it was just it turned into that. But I've seen videos where people um fly fish for carp there too.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
so
looks it's a nice
I
place.
think I know exactly where you're talking about. My sister lives somewhere around there. There's like
It's
trees
right
nearby.
off of it's right by the LA Zoo. It's right by the LA
Yeah.
Zoo. The
No,
You're
exit.
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
same place she's talking about.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's near Atwater Village, which
Oh,
is
go
on the
figure.
opposite side of the freeway of LA Zoo.
Figueroa.
Go figure.
Yeah,
As soon
right
as I
there.
say LA Zoo, everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Griffith Park.
Yeah, Griffith Park. There you go. Yeah.
Now, we kind of cut you short on there. Was there a second part to like other locations that you're thinking
Yeah.
about traveling to?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to go to New Zealand for the trout. Yeah, there's great big brown trout, rainbow
Are they
trout,
native
etc.
there?
No, they're not. They're planted and they get huge and it's very difficult. But there's something that I think all of you would appreciate. They have something called a kingfish, which is actually a yellowtail. And
Yeah, I've seen that.
the yellowtail or kingfish come up on the flats, and you can do the same thing. You can sight fish for them. And I've always wanted to do that because I love yellowtail. I love how hard they fight.
Is it
And
actual yellowtail or is it a relative
yeah,
of yellowtail?
it's like this southern hemisphere version of the yellowtail. They call them
Well, so I
kingfish.
know like in Florida they have amberjack, which are a lot like yellowtail, but apparently they
Yeah.
don't taste the same.
Mm-mm.
Do kingfish taste the same?
I have yet to catch on. I couldn't tell you this that, but looking, they have the same yellowtail, the same yellow stripe, and
And it
they're
seems like people
blue.
are keeping them.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah,
in
people
Florida, it seems like
keep
they
them all
all
the time.
just throw the amberjack back. They're like, it's a trash fish.
they
Amberjack,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, Scott would say they're full of worms, and he would say the same thing. Just throw it back. But everyone will keep a yellowtail. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So what's your
Yeah,
biggest yellowtail? Have you caught a yellowtail here in
Yeah, on the backside of Catalina, the largest I caught, I think, was 23, 24 pounds. So
on the fly
That's a
yeah,
rod?
good fish on
on a fly rod.
conventional.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good fish, period.
It was funny too because there was a boat out there throwing bait, and everybody was catching yellowtail, and so we were casting close to where they were boiling, and I got one, and then it just burned the drag was just screaming, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and then it came right back at the boat because like a sea lion was chasing it.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't lose it on the rocks, but luckily we were able to gaff it and brought it in and weighed it. So it was something. It was a great memory.
How long was that
How
fight?
long do you think that fight was?
It might have been 5-10 minutes at max, so
That's
not
not
that
bad.
long.
That seems like a pretty
Yeah,
decent
pretty average
turnaround for
yellowtail
a
time.
20 pound.
Yeah, I mean, I
Really?
had my gear.
5 minutes for a yellowtail?
Like I said, it was being chased by a sea lion.
Oh,
So
because he was being
Oh yeah,
Oh,
chased.
I
you're
was
just
helping me.
pulling line in.
yeah.
As fast
Because
as
he
I
was being
could.
chased.
Yeah, yeah. But no, it was strong. I mean, those fish are no joke. We caught them off Mag Bay as well. Not nearly as big, but man, when you have a yellowtail on. They are so strong, and I love how they just rip up the reel. They just
Yeah,
start tearing.
they're just like there's not a build. It's just a blitz right off the bat.
Mhm.
Gone. So with night fishing for calicos on the fly, is Luke your first charter that you guys did this before? Like, or you guys done it before?
Yeah, my husband, he used to be a captain out of San Diego, so a center console, and he used to guide for calicos off San Diego and also yellowtail and tuna. But he had never fished for calicos at night. I had with Ron
Mm.
Podmore. So, and also some of my other friends, we would go out like at dusk and start fishing for calicos. So it was something I was kind of used to, but hadn't done in a while. But it was Scott's first
But
experience.
had you done our stupid hours before?
No, not to that extent. But
I like that.
we did like one of my first trips on for fishing for calico on the wall. We did stay out until 2 a.m, but that was a
Oh,
few
we used
years
to stay
ago.
out. We used to stay out till like 6 in the morning
Yeah, we used to say
sometimes.
when I started guiding, I had to like, okay, there's got to be some rules.
Yeah.
Like I can't do this. I can't do this stuff anymore. Where we like, oh, the sun's coming up. We should go home.
Dude, him and Daniel used to do crazy like night missions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, me and Daniel did a couple where we launched at 2 a.m.
I've done
Well,
that with Vaughn. Yeah, we launched it like 2 a.m.
as
to get the time.
you're aware, exactly, you gotta go when the conditions are right, and sometimes that's at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You might not
Or on a
fish.
work day. Or on a
Yeah.
work day.
What
Yeah,
work?
or
It's
you
about
gotta just
fishing.
throw a PTO day.
Yeah, your friend just hits you up on a work day and says, "Hey, the conditions are super great. I'm not expecting you to go, but I want you to know."
Right.
I'm
I
like,
Just
still
FYI.
so
Drop
what does that
everything.
mean? I'm going? He's like, if you
I want to
want.
tell just a little more to that story. I was like, Charlie, he's I'm going. I'm like, you really shouldn't go. And he said, my dad's been in the hospital. I'm going through some stuff right now, and I just need a day to disconnect. And if it means I'm tired at work tomorrow, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was like
And
that.
Charlie got an 8-pound calico that night. And it was like if anybody needed that in their life, it was Charlie at
Yeah.
that moment. And his dad's
Yeah.
doing much better now.
Good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Very good. But it's one of those things, right? Where you're like, I'm going. It doesn't matter.
I got a call like Sunday, and I worked Monday. My buddy's like, "Hey, we're going bluefin fishing tomorrow morning," and I went, I got work. I'm not going to be available. I think they loaded up. I think they got like three to
Oh, you
five
didn't
bluefin
go. You didn't go.
on. I mean, like a 17-foot Boston whaler with like. I mean, to this day, I regret it so much.
What's
So,
this?
so we've got about 6 minutes left. Let's get to the good stuff.
Okay. But I wanted to hear about the Boston Whaler. But go ahead.
No,
I mean,
finish your story.
It's
He
my
wasn't even
friend who
there.
had a
Luke,
small
how
Boston
dare you
whaler.
interrupt the Boston Whaler story?
Yeah, I know, and we were seeing like bluefin pretty close in between Catalina and like 12 miles out into the shipping lanes. They loaded up. I mean, they absolutely had a blast and just
Of
hooked
course they
into
did.
all the bluefin.
Of
However,
course they did.
I also saved myself because I think he might have fought one for like 8 hours. So I think I missed that day. So I,
You
I
know,
don't know how bad it was.
a lot like Luke, right, and Jeff, they're like, you got to get on a bluefin tuna. Luke's dad's like, you gotta go out for bluefin. We got to get you out for bluefin. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to fight something, and if I do catch it for like 8 hours, you know,
That's a
like
Can't have that
long
mentality.
fight.
I get it, but
Charlie, it means
it's
you
not
gotta
like
start hitting the gym. I
it's
don't
not like
have like
fighting a it's
You're
not like fighting a
typically you're,
calico for
you're typically
for
not going to
for.
fight something for 8 hours. It's going to be 5.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Is there a difference?
okay.
That's at
You
what
take away
point
3 hours.
where's the threshold to 5 and 8? Because my thing is like I'm feeling like those it might be similar.
That's also pretty. That's a pretty rare fight. I think my longest fight was an hour.
What about you,
Still.
Me?
Kesley?
50 minutes on that blue marlin, and I was dying. I wasn't, they think that you're gonna be tied into a chair. You're not. When you have a fly rod, it's the butt of the
Oh,
rod's in your hip. You're right in your hip, and you gotta, and the captain's doing everything he can to wear out the fish. But that was an excruciating 50 minutes for me.
Oh my
and then I
gosh.
saw that
Can't even
that you
imagine.
have somebody on the side of you, right? And they're like antagonizing the fish, right? And you're throwing your
Yeah. What they're doing, they call it the spread. So you've got a teaser spread and you're bringing in the fish. So the fish are always like, say, swimming below, and you see like a plane go over. What do? You look up. So the
mm-hmm.
same principle with the fish, they see the boat go over and they see stuff happening behind it. So they go up to investigate. And so that's when the captain sees the fish and he tells the mates to reel in the teasers and the fish is going to chase. And then they take it out of the water, you cast. So the only thing the fish sees is
Is your fly.
your fly, your popper. So they hammer it. So that's how, you get a sailfish or marlin. It's called a bait and switch on a fly rod.
That's awesome.
So
It
I
was.
think Luke.
You were like, it was.
It was.
It was.
It was.
What did he say?
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to steer the conversation because I know Luke was trying to get us over to your personal bests, which I know you have a lot of, and some of them have been records, are records, and and all of that.
Are you pulled over on the freeway, Luke? Or are you getting tacos?
Oh no, if I pull up to the house, it's gonna try to bump onto the Wi-Fi and it's gonna mess up the whole thing. So
I'm like, you about to go get some tacos El
no,
Tamix?
I'm just I'm down the street from the house where I know the Wi-Fi won't start messing with me yet.
Okay.
So let's do it. Let's get into it. So let's go calico. What's your biggest calico on the fly rod?
Right now it's 5 pounds. So that was off Catalina. It was a beautiful fish. It wasn't a thug fish.
It wasn't a thug.
I really want a big thug fish off the wall. That's one of my dreams. I mean, I saw a friend pull up a 7-pounder on a fly rod one night.
Oh my
It took him
gosh.
just a solid minute of screaming because the thing wanted to go into the rock.
That's what I can't picture, right? Like we're fighting fish with button down drag and they're pulling drag. Here it's just like
yeah, but you're holding on because you know if the minute you give any line, they're in the rock. So you got to clamp down.
In a sense, it is button down drag because it's like you're
holding it.
You're holding it.
I can't imagine.
I just want to go to watch. Is really half of it. That sounds like so much fun just to be a part of.
Yeah. No. When Alex caught that fish, he started screaming. He's like, like what is going on?
Well, that's a big fish, man.
I
even on
same, by the way.
Even on conventional gear, that's 7 pounds is no joke.
Too.
I was. I was like, oh.
Get the net.
Get the net. What about a sand? Have you caught a big sand bass?
Yeah,
sand bass are gnarly fighters too.
They are. They're strong. Nothing worth mentioning. I think maybe 3 pounds, but nothing huge. Nothing like that calico my friend Alex got.
Yeah.
Let's go over to trout.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 21 and a
She's
half
like,
pounds.
She's like, I want to talk about bigger fish.
She's got bigger.
Well, when you say 21 and a half pound trout, that's pretty big.
Yeah,
that is big.
That was, I think, 36, 37 inches. So
you're holding up a trout that looks like a yellowtail.
Right. And it's on my Instagram, but yeah, we caught that on a size 16 midge. So
tiny.
Yeah, like this. So elephants eat peanuts.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't been up to Pyramid Lake, get up there because they're having a fantastic year. There's been so many fish over 20 pounds this year.
And if you want to think about if you don't know, if you want to think about what a size 16 midge looks like, look at your pinky nail and think of something that does not fill that space up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to my coworker. Because he's headed up to around the Owens location right now. Yeah, I mean, to the point to where it's like almost impossible to thread 2-pound test through the eye of it. And you're like, honestly, I just hope this knot was tied correctly because
I can't see it.
I know it's that bad.
2-pound test is crazy. That stuff breaks. I've gone after 2-pound records, and I tear out my hair. I'm like, how are they doing this? And I came real close with the brown trout out of the Owens River, but that's something else to get a 2-pound test record.
There's people over here fishing lightweight with like the fish that we target in structure, and
Oh yeah, big bass on light gear. Well, I recently just watched somebody try to set the light gear, like light line record for roosterfish, and that's an insane record to begin with.
Right.
So I don't know how people do it.
So what's your biggest roosterfish?
A 51 pounds. So that missed the world record on 20-pound test by about, unfortunately, 9 pounds. But it was my largest roosterfish, and I registered with IGFA, and they have trophy clubs for roosterfish over 50 pounds, and I'm the only one, registered with a fly rod. So it was
nice.
Part of a trophy club. Yeah. So
cool.
So that wasn't record for the fly?
No, but it was a trophy class roosterfish, and so I registered it, because why not? I'm the only one that did it with a fly rod who knew that you could do that. So I encourage everybody who gets a roosterfish over 50 pounds to register it with IGFA.
So when you register, when you talk about register, do you kill the fish or you?
No, No,
just document.
you just document it. If you do it on a fly rod, it has to be 20-pound test or less. It has to be done on a fly rod and reel clearly, and then you have to meet the requirements. Like you can't have huge amount of bite tippet. You can only have a foot. So you're still per the IGFA regulations, and you can either do it by length or you can do it by weight. So you just register the fish, and they hand you a certificate, and then you're in the IGFA book of records. So it's nice. Yeah.
That's super
Now we
cool.
do have a quick question: which fights harder, a yellow or a rooster fish?
Ah, I would say pound per pound, a yellowtail, because that 23-pounder, man, that took a lot of blood,
It's
a
all
lot of
muscle, huh?
sweat. It's all muscle.
Yeah.
But the rooster fish will sink on you, and so it's a game of endurance, and you just crank and crank, and then they run, you crank and crank, but the rooster, yeah, they're like reining in a thoroughbred. They're gonna go. And I've ridden thoroughbreds, and I know.
Yeah, I was laughing because I just listened to an episode where you mentioned that you raised horses. I got it.
Really?
I didn't race them. I trained them. I didn't race, but I did train a horse that was out of Santa Anita. So that guy took off on me once. So I know.
So we've come to an end. It's awesome having you on.
Thank you.
It's really cool to hear about like bigger game fish fly fishing, right? Which is mind blowing to think about if you have never done it. All the unknown, right? Like I don't know how that is, but it's really cool to get an insight on how that is from your point of view, right?
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. I love sharing my stories. I mean, we could go on for another hour. I know it.
Of course.
Kesley,
Yeah.
I want to say I appreciate you hopping on as well. One of the things that I appreciate is the love of the sport. A lot of people, fall victim to finding their comfort zone with one species, but you're out here absolutely going from, like you said, a size 22
Yeah.
mosquito
Fly.
to a 10-inch marlin fly and everything in between. So it's really cool. I would have to say, out of, the kind of the name of the show, Time on the Water, you have absolutely put just an
Time on
immense
the water.
Yes. That's what counts is time. You got to
So
get out there.
you
You do.
do a seminar which I missed.
I was
I
just
believe it was called "Traveling the World with a Fly Rod."
Right.
Are
Yeah.
you
Scott and
gonna?
I
Is
did
that
that.
gonna be coming up again anytime soon? Anywhere?
I haven't been asked, but yeah, I was asked. You guys just came from a show, the PCS, is
PCS.
that right? Yeah, and I was asked to present there, and I might take them up on it next year.
Oh,
Haven't
nice.
quite
You
decided what
should,
I was going
because
to
that's
talk
our
on.
favorite time of the year.
Okay.
You
Like,
should because we love it.
yeah, we love it. We're there the whole time.
Yes,
And
PCS is amazing.
Charlie films some of the seminars and then puts them up later on
Yeah.
YouTube.
So it could be cool. Could be cool to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a lot of editing to do with this PCS,
Typically, like after PCS, I think Charlie will have weekly episodes coming out for the next 3 months of
Hopefully.
interviews from PCS.
Very nice.
Hopefully. But again, pleasure having you. We got your husband coming on next week. So looking forward to that.
We'll break down this the specificity of gear next week.
But guys, if you guys made it this long, don't forget, we'll probably talk about it till the day, but Glizzy's at the ramp coming up May 24th, and it's going to be a fun time. But guys, thank you guys for staying this long. We appreciate you guys. See you guys on the next one. Keep on fishing. Keep on fishing. Get on the water. Peace.
Thank you guys.